Here's a truth that will shake everything you think you know about success. The harder you chase something, the faster it runs away from you. The more desperately you need that promotion, that relationship, that recognition, the more elusive it becomes. It's like trying to catch your own shadow. The moment you stop running toward it and turn around, there it is, right behind you. Most people have this backwards. They think caring more means trying harder, and trying harder means getting better results. But I'm here to tell you something that might sound crazy at first. When you stop caring about the outcome, everything you've been chasing suddenly appears within reach. Let me share a story about a man I knew. Let's call him David. David was a salesman and he was struggling. Every month he fell short of his quotas. Every presentation felt like life or death. He would lie awake at night, calculating how much he needed to sell, rehearsing his pitches, worrying about his manager's opinion. The more he needed the sales, the more desperate he became. And desperation, as you might know, has a very particular smell to it. Customers can detect it from across the room. One day, David reached his breaking point. He walked into work and thought, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just going to help people find what they need. And if they buy, great. If they don't, that's fine too. Something remarkable happened that day. He stopped pushing. He stopped trying to convince. He started listening. He became genuinely curious about his customers' problems. And for the first time in months, people started saying yes. By the end of that month, David had his best sales month ever. Not because he cared more about selling, but because he stopped caring about the sale and started caring about the person in front of him. Now, what does this tell us? It tells us that there's a difference between caring about the right things and caring about the wrong things. David switched from caring about his commission check to caring about his customer's experience. That's not giving up. That's wisdom. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What are you gripping so tightly in your life that it's slipping through your fingers like sand? What are you so afraid of losing that your very fear is pushing it away? Maybe it's a relationship. You care so much about what the other person thinks, you can't be yourself around them. You analyze every text message, overthink every conversation, try to be perfect, and what happens? They sense the neediness, they feel the pressure, and they pull away. Or maybe it's your career. You want that next position so badly that you second guess every decision, play politics instead of focusing on your work, worry about every interaction with your boss. And what happens? Your performance suffers because you're spending more energy worrying than working. Here's what I've learned after decades of watching people succeed and fail. Desperation is the enemy of attraction. Whether we're talking about money, relationships, opportunities, or success itself, desperation repels what we most desire. Think about magnets for a moment. When you try to force two magnets together the wrong way, they push apart, but align them correctly, and they snap together with surprising force. Life works the same way. When you're desperate, you're trying to force the magnets together backwards. When you let go, you naturally align yourself with what you want. But here's where people get confused. They think not caring means not trying. They think it means being passive or indifferent. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is caring about the process instead of the outcome. Caring about what you can control instead of what you can't. You can't control whether someone hires you, but you can control how well you prepare for the interview. You can't control whether someone likes you, but you can control whether you show up as your authentic self. You can't control the stock market, but you can control whether you save and invest consistently. When you stop caring about the approval of others, something magical happens. You start making decisions based on your own values instead of their expectations. And ironically, when you're not seeking approval, you often get it. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin. When you stop caring about immediate results, you start taking actions that compound over time. Instead of looking for the quick fix, you build sustainable habits. Instead of trying to impress people with false confidence, you develop real competence. Let me tell you about another kind of caring that keeps people stuck. Caring about being right. Have you ever been in an argument where you knew the other person had a point, but you couldn't admit it? You were so invested in being right that you missed the opportunity to learn something new, to grow, to improve your relationship with that person. Here's what happens when you stop caring about being right all the time. You start being more right more often, because you're willing to listen, to consider other perspectives, to change your mind when presented with better information. You become a learning machine instead of a defending machine. Some of you might be thinking, but if I don't care, won't I become lazy? Won't I stop trying? That's the beauty of this paradox. When you stop caring about external validation, you start caring more about internal satisfaction. When you stop caring about looking good, you start caring more about being good. When you stop caring about what others think of your work, you start caring more about the quality of your work. This shift changes everything. Instead of working to impress your boss, you work to improve your skills. Instead of exercising to look good for others, you exercise because you feel better when you do. Instead of reading books to sound smart in conversations, you read because you're genuinely curious about the ideas. Now, I'm not suggesting you become indifferent to everything. There's a difference between detachment and indifference. Detachment means you care deeply about the process, but hold the outcome lightly. Indifference means you don't care about anything, and that's just another form of giving up. The paradox works because when you're not attached to specific outcomes, you become open to better outcomes. When you're not desperate for one particular opportunity, you notice other opportunities that might be even better. When you're not clinging to how you think things should go, you're available for how they actually want to go. I've seen this principle work in every area of life. The entrepreneur who stops desperately chasing investors and focuses on building a great product suddenly finds investors approaching them. The single person who stops desperately seeking a relationship and focuses on becoming the kind of person they'd want to be with suddenly becomes attractive to quality partners. Here's another way to think about it. When you care too much about something, you often sabotage yourself through overthinking. You analyze it to death. You create problems that don't exist. You see threats where there are only opportunities. But when you let go of that desperate need, your natural intelligence can flow. You make better decisions because you're not clouded by anxiety and neediness. So what does this look like practically? It means you prepare thoroughly for that job interview. Then walk in with the attitude that if this is the right fit, great, and if it's not, something better will come along. It means you invest time and energy in your relationships without keeping score or trying to control the other person's behavior. It means you work hard on your goals while staying open to the possibility that the universe might have something even better in store for you. The ultimate freedom comes from realizing that your worth isn't determined by any external outcome. Whether you get the promotion or not, whether the relationship works out or not, whether your business succeeds or fails, none of that determines your value as a human being. And when you truly understand this, paradoxically, you become more likely to achieve those external goals because you're operating from a place of strength rather than weakness, abundance rather than scarcity. This is the first key to everything falling into place. Understanding that your desperate caring about outcomes is often what prevents those outcomes from manifesting. When you can shift your care to the process, to your effort, to your growth, to your contribution, that's when the magic begins to happen. That's when you discover that the very thing you were chasing was actually chasing you all along. Now that you understand the paradox of letting go, let's talk about where real success actually comes from. And here's another truth that might surprise you. Success is an inside-out process, not an outside-in process. Most people have been trying to change their lives by changing their circumstances. But I'm going to show you why that approach keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of frustration. Think about a farmer for a moment. Does the farmer wake up each morning and try to force his crops to grow by pulling on the stalks? Of course not. He understands something fundamental about how growth works. You can't hurry the harvest, but you can improve the soil. You can plant better seeds. You can water consistently. You can pull the weeds. The farmer focuses on what he can control and trusts the natural process to produce the results. Your life works exactly the same way. You are both the farmer and the field. Most people want to change the harvest without changing the habits. They want different results without different routines. They want to transform their external world while leaving their internal world exactly the same. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Let me ask you a direct question. What kind of person do you need to become to have the life you want? Not what do you need to get, not what needs to happen to you, But who do you need to become? Because I'll tell you something that took me years to understand. Your external circumstances are simply a reflection of your internal state. If you want more money, you need to become the kind of person who naturally attracts financial opportunities. If you want better relationships, you need to become the kind of person that quality people want to be around. If you want better health, you need to become the kind of person who values their body and makes decisions that support their well-being. Here's what most people don't understand about change. It's not about making massive transformations overnight. It's about making small, consistent improvements that compound over time. And here's where the magic happens. These small changes don't just add up, they multiply. Let me give you some specific examples of how this works. Let's say you decide to read just 10 pages of a good book every day. That doesn't sound like much, does it? 10 pages. Anyone can read 10 pages, but here's what that small habit creates over a year. 365 pages times 10 equals 3,650 pages. That's about 12 to 15 books a year. In 5 years, that's 60 to 75 books. In 10 years, you've read 120 to 150 books. Now think about this. What would happen to your knowledge, your perspective, your confidence, your decision-making ability if you absorbed 150 quality books over the next 10 years? You wouldn't be the same person. The opportunities that would be available to that version of you wouldn't even be visible to who you are today. Or let's talk about money. What if you saved just $5 every single day? $5. You probably spend more than that on coffee, but $5 a day, invested wisely, compounds into something remarkable. After 1 year, you have $1,825. After 10 years with compound interest, you could have $30,000 or more. After 30 years, you could be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, all from $5 a day. But here's what's really happening during those years. You're not just accumulating money. You're becoming the kind of person who saves. You're developing the discipline, the foresight, the ability to delay gratification. You're building character, and character, once built, opens doors that money alone never could. The same principle applies to your health. 20 minutes of exercise every day doesn't sound like much, but 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that's over 120 hours of exercise annually. More importantly, you become someone who prioritizes their health. You become someone who keeps commitments to themselves. You become someone with energy, strength, and vitality. Most people focus on the results instead of the process. They want to lose 30 pounds, so they go on a crash diet. They want to make more money, so they look for get-rich-quick schemes. They want better relationships, so they try to find the perfect person. But they never address the fundamental issue, becoming the kind of person who naturally creates those results. Here's another way to think about it. Your life today is the sum total of all the decisions you've made up to this point. If you want a different life tomorrow, you need to start making different decisions today. But here's the key. You can only make decisions that are consistent with who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who's not good with money, you'll make financial decisions that confirm that belief. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles with relationships, you'll behave in ways that create relationship problems. If you see yourself as someone who never follows through, you'll sabotage your own efforts before you even begin. This is why internal change must come first. You have to change your identity before you can change your behavior consistently. And the beautiful thing is, you change your identity by changing your behavior. It's a positive feedback loop. Every time you act like the person you want to become, you strengthen that identity. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you build self-trust. Let me tell you about the seasons of personal development, because understanding this will save you years of frustration. Just like a farmer must work with the seasons, you must understand and work with the seasons of your own growth. There's a winter season in everyone's life, times when it feels like nothing is happening. You're reading, you're learning, you're working on yourself, but you can't see any external results. This is when most people quit. They think this isn't working. But winter is not a failure of spring. It's preparation for spring. The roots are growing underground. The foundation is being built. The character is being developed. Then comes spring, the season of new beginnings, new opportunities, new growth. If you've done the winter work, you're ready for spring. You have the knowledge, the skills, the habits, the character to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. Summer is the season of abundance, when all your preparation pays off. But summer doesn't last forever, and that's okay. Summer is followed by autumn, the season of harvest, when you reap what you've sown, and then comes winter again, and the cycle continues. Many people try to live in permanent summer. They want constant growth, constant success, constant abundance. But life doesn't work that way. The person who understands the seasons and works with them, instead of against them, will find that each winter makes them stronger. Each spring brings bigger opportunities. Each summer produces greater abundance. Here's something else to consider. Your external environment will always try to pull you back to who you used to be. Your old friends might not understand your new habits. Your family might resist your changes. Society will pressure you to conform to mediocrity. This is why internal strength is so critical. You need to be rooted in who you're becoming, not swayed by external opinions. Every successful person I've ever met has understood this principle. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. Your relationships will rarely be better than your ability to communicate and connect. Your health will rarely be better than your daily habits and choices. But here's what makes this exciting: when you focus on becoming better, everything else becomes easier. When you develop discipline in one area, it spills over into other areas. When you build confidence through keeping small commitments to yourself, that confidence shows up in your work, your relationships, your financial decisions, the external changes you want: more money, better relationships, improved health, greater opportunities. All of these will come naturally as you become the person capable of creating and maintaining them. This is why the farmer doesn't worry about the harvest. He focuses on preparing the soil, planting good seeds, and tending to the daily work. The harvest is inevitable if the fundamentals are in place. Your life is your field. Every day you're either planting weeds or planting seeds. Every decision, every action, every thought is contributing to who you're becoming. The question isn't whether you'll reap a harvest. You will. The question is, what kind of harvest will it be? This is why success through internal mastery is not just a strategy. It's the only strategy that produces lasting results. Everything else is just rearranging the furniture while the foundation crumbles. But when you build from the inside out, when you become the person capable of creating the life you want, that life becomes not just possible but inevitable. Now that you understand success comes from the inside out, let's talk about something that will give you tremendous power in your life. Understanding that life operates on predictable patterns and cycles. Most people react to life as if everything that happens is random, unexpected, or unfair. But successful people know better. They've learned to recognize the patterns, and more importantly, they've learned how to position themselves to take advantage of these cycles. Think about the ocean for a moment. The tides come in, the tides go out. This happens twice every day, predictably, reliably. A surfer doesn't fight the tide. A surfer doesn't complain when the tide goes out. A surfer understands the rhythm and uses it. When the waves are right, they ride them. When the waves aren't right, they wait. They prepare, they position themselves for the next good set. Your life has tides too. There are times when everything seems to flow effortlessly, when opportunities appear everywhere, when your efforts produce extraordinary results. And there are times when nothing seems to work, when doors close, when you feel like you're swimming upstream, no matter how hard you try. The difference between someone who thrives and someone who merely survives is not that the successful person avoids the difficult cycles. It's that they understand these cycles and respond to them strategically instead of emotionally. Let me share something with you that took me years to understand. Problems and opportunities travel together. They're not separate events. Every challenge contains the seeds of equivalent or greater opportunity, but you have to be willing to look for it. Most people focus only on the problem. They complain about it, resist it, ask why me. They miss the opportunity entirely. Here's how this works in real life. Economic downturns present buying opportunities for those with cash and vision. Personal setbacks often redirect us toward better paths we never would have considered otherwise. Relationship challenges force us to develop communication skills and emotional intelligence. Health problems wake us up to the importance of taking care of our bodies. The key is learning to ask better questions. Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" ask "What is this here to teach me?" Instead of "How do I avoid this problem?" Ask, how do I grow through this challenge? Instead of when will this be over? Ask, how can I position myself to benefit when it is over? Let's talk about the 4 seasons philosophy, because understanding this will change how you approach every aspect of your life. Just as nature has winter, spring, summer, and fall, every area of your life goes through these same cycles. Winter is the season of preparation and reflection. This is when things appear to be dead or dormant, but underneath the surface, important work is happening. In your career, winter might be when you're learning new skills, building relationships, or developing strategies while waiting for the right opportunity. In your finances, winter might be when you're saving, paying off debt, and positioning yourself for future investments. In your health, winter might be when you're establishing foundations, consistent sleep, basic nutrition, regular movement. Many people hate winter. They get impatient. They want constant growth, constant action, constant progress. But winter serves a crucial purpose. It's during winter that the roots grow deep. It's during winter that you build the foundation that will support everything that comes after. The person who tries to skip winter will never have the strength to handle the abundance of summer. Spring is the season of new beginnings and planted seeds. This is when opportunities start to appear, when doors begin to open, when the work you did in winter starts to show signs of life. In spring, you need to be ready to act. You need to have done your winter work so you can take advantage of spring opportunities. But here's what's interesting about spring. It requires patience and persistence. A planted seed doesn't become a tree overnight. You might plant an idea, a relationship, a business venture in spring, but you won't see the full results for months or even years. Most people plant in spring and then dig up the seeds in summer to see why nothing's growing yet. They sabotage their own success through impatience. Summer is the season of growth and activity. This is when your earlier efforts start producing visible results. Your skills are developing, your relationships are strengthening, your investments are growing. Summer is exciting, but it's also demanding. Summer requires you to put in the work, to tend to what you've planted, to make the most of the favorable conditions. Some people think summer should be easy because things are growing. But ask any farmer, summer is often the busiest season. You have to water, weed, protect, and nurture what you've planted. Success in summer requires consistency and attention to detail. It requires showing up every day, whether you feel like it or not. Fall is the season of harvest and preparation. This is when you reap what you've sown, when you enjoy the fruits of your earlier efforts. But fall is also about preparing for the next winter. It's about taking some of your harvest and reinvesting it, saving it, using it to build an even stronger foundation for the next cycle. Too many people spend everything they harvest in fall. They get a promotion and immediately increase their lifestyle to match their new income. They experience some success and think it will last forever. But wise people know that winter always follows fall. They use their autumn abundance to prepare for the next winter season. Now here's something crucial. Different areas of your life can be in different seasons at the same time. You might be experiencing winter in your career while enjoying summer in your relationships. You might be in spring with your health while going through fall in your finances. Understanding this helps you allocate your time and energy appropriately. The most successful people I know have learned to recognize which season they're in for each area of their life, and they adjust their strategy accordingly. They don't resist winter, they prepare for spring. They don't waste spring, they plant for summer. They don't coast in summer, they work for fall. They don't squander fall, they prepare for winter. But there's another pattern we need to discuss, the pattern of setbacks and breakthroughs. Life rarely moves in a straight line upward. Instead, it moves in waves, with each wave taking you to a higher level than the last. But between each peak there's a valley. Between each breakthrough there's often a breakdown. Most people see the valley as proof that they're failing. They see the breakdown as a sign they should quit. But if you understand the pattern, you realize the valley is just preparation for the next peak. The breakdown is just clearing space for the next breakthrough. I've noticed that the bigger the next level you're reaching for, the more significant the breakdown that precedes it. It's as if life is testing whether you really want what you say you want. It's asking, are you willing to go through this to get to that? Here's how to position yourself for maximum advantage during each part of the cycle. During the difficult times, focus on learning, growing, and building strength. During the slow times, focus on preparation and positioning. During the good times, focus on making the most of opportunities while preparing for the next challenge. And here's perhaps the most important part of understanding patterns. Timing. There's a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to save and a time to invest, a time to learn and a time to act, a time to speak and a time to listen. People who force action during a season of reflection often waste their energy. People who remain passive during a season of opportunity often miss their moment. So how do you know what season you're in? Pay attention to what's happening around you. Listen to what life is trying to tell you. If doors keep closing, maybe it's time to prepare rather than push. If opportunities keep appearing, maybe it's time to act rather than analyze. If you keep encountering the same type of challenge, maybe it's time to develop the skills to overcome it rather than trying to avoid it. Understanding these patterns doesn't mean you become passive and just wait for things to happen. It means you become strategic. You work with the natural rhythms of life instead of against them. You prepare during winter so you can plant in spring. You work hard in summer so you can harvest in fall. You save in fall so you can survive the next winter and be ready for the next spring. Remember this, the seasons change for everyone, but only some people change with the seasons. The people who learn to recognize the patterns, who position themselves strategically, who work with the cycles instead of against them. These are the people who seem to have luck on their side. But it's not luck, it's wisdom. It's understanding how life really works and then working with it instead of against it. Now we need to address the elephant in the room. You can understand paradoxes. You can develop yourself from the inside out. You can recognize life's patterns and cycles. But if you're still carrying around self-defeating behaviors and a victim mentality, you'll sabotage everything before it has a chance to work.
Let's get brutally honest here. The biggest obstacle between you and the life you want isn't the economy, it isn't your boss, it isn't your circumstances, and it isn't bad luck. The biggest obstacle is the voice in your head that says you can't do it, you don't deserve it, it's not possible for someone like you. I want to talk to you about two types of people in this world, and I want you to decide which one you're going to be. The first type wakes up each morning looking for someone or something to blame for their situation. The second type wakes up each morning looking for ways to improve their situation. The first type collects excuses. The second type collects results. Which type are you? And before you answer too quickly, let me share with you the most common forms of self-sabotage, because they're often so subtle we don't even recognize them as self-sabotage. First, there's the comfort zone addiction. You say you want change, but every time change starts to happen, you find a way to pull back to what's familiar. You get close to a breakthrough, then you do something to mess it up. Why? Because change, even positive change, feels uncomfortable. Your brain is wired to keep you safe, and safe means familiar, even if familiar means mediocre. Here's what successful people understand that most don't: growth and comfort cannot coexist. You cannot expand your life while shrinking from challenges. You cannot achieve more while doing less. You cannot become extraordinary while insisting on staying ordinary. Then there's perfectionism, which sounds like a virtue but is actually a form of fear disguised as high standards. Perfectionism says, I can't start until I have the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect resources. Meanwhile, successful people start with what they have, learn as they go, and improve along the way. Perfectionism is not about doing things excellently. Excellence is about doing your best with what you have right now. Perfectionism is about avoiding criticism, avoiding failure, avoiding the possibility of looking foolish. But here's the truth, you're going to make mistakes anyway. You're going to fail at some things anyway. The only question is whether you're going to let those inevitable mistakes teach you something or stop you entirely. Let's talk about procrastination, because I guarantee most of you are putting off something important right now. Procrastination isn't about time management. It's about emotion management. You procrastinate not because you don't have time, but because you don't want to deal with the emotions that come with doing the thing. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's fear of success. Maybe it's fear of judgment. Maybe it's just the fear of being uncomfortable. But procrastination is the thief of time, and time is the only resource you can't get back. Every day you delay starting is a day you could have been moving closer to your goals. Now let's address the victim mentality, because this is the most toxic mindset of all. The victim mentality says, things happen to me. The success mentality says, I make things happen. The victim mentality asks, why me? The success mentality asks, what now? I understand that bad things happen to good people. I understand that life isn't always fair. I understand that some people start with advantages others don't have. But here's what I've learned. You can either focus on what happened to you, or you can focus on what you're going to do about it. Let me tell you about responsibility. because this word is often misunderstood. Responsibility doesn't mean everything that happens to you is your fault. Responsibility means everything that happens to you is your responsibility to deal with. You didn't choose to be born into your family, but you can choose how you respond to your upbringing. You didn't choose to face certain challenges, but you can choose how you handle them. The moment you take complete responsibility for your life, everything changes. Because when you blame other people or circumstances for your situation, you give away your power to change it. How can you fix something that's someone else's fault? How can you improve something that's completely out of your control? But when you take responsibility, even for things that aren't your fault, you reclaim your power. You become the author of your story instead of a character in someone else's drama. Here's how the two mindsets show up differently in real life. When faced with a challenge, the victim mindset says, "This always happens to me." The success mindset says, "How can I solve this?" When faced with criticism, the victim mindset says, "They don't understand me." The success mindset says, "What can I learn from this?" When faced with a setback, the victim mindset says, "I knew this wouldn't work." The success mindset says, "What's my next move?" When faced with someone else's success, the victim mindset says, "They're just lucky." The success mindset says, "What did they do that I can learn from?" Now let me address another form of self-sabotage that keeps people small. Caring too much about what other people think. This goes back to our first principle about letting go, but it's so important it deserves its own discussion. You were not put on this earth to live up to someone else's expectations. You were not given your unique talents and abilities to hide them because they might make others uncomfortable. You were not designed to play small so others feel better about themselves. But here's what happens to most people. They spend so much energy managing their image, trying to please everyone, avoiding judgment, that they never develop their true potential. They make decisions based on what others will think, instead of what's right for them. They pursue careers that look good to others instead of pursuing work that fulfills them. The prison of needing approval is one of the most restrictive prisons of all because the bars are invisible. You can't see them, but you feel them every time you want to speak up. But don't. Every time you want to try something but worry about what people will say. Every time you dim your light so others won't feel threatened. Here's how to break free from this prison. Realize that what other people think of you is none of your business. Their thoughts are about them, not about you. Their judgments reveal more about their own insecurities and limitations than about your worth or potential. Successful people have learned to distinguish between useful feedback and useless noise. They welcome input from people they respect. People who have achieved what they want to achieve. People who have their best interests at heart. But they ignore the opinions of critics who have never done what they're trying to do. Let me give you a simple framework for eliminating these self-defeating patterns. It's called the STOP method. Stop and recognize what's happening. When you catch yourself making excuses, procrastinating, blaming others, or seeking approval, just stop. Awareness is the first step to change. Think about what's really going on. What emotion are you trying to avoid? What fear is driving this behavior? What are you really afraid of? Own your choice. Recognize that continuing this pattern is a choice, and choosing differently is also an option. You're not a victim of your thoughts or habits. You're the author of your actions. Pick a different response. Instead of making an excuse, take action. Instead of blaming someone else, ask what you can do differently. Instead of seeking approval, ask yourself what feels right to you. This framework works because it interrupts the automatic pattern and gives you a chance to choose consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. Here's something else to understand. Your brain will always default to the familiar, even if the familiar isn't working for you. Change requires conscious effort, consistent practice, and patience with yourself as you develop new patterns. But here's the beautiful part. Every time you catch yourself in a self-defeating pattern and choose differently, you're building new neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your brain for success. Each small victory makes the next one easier. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all fears, doubts, or challenges. The goal is to act in spite of them. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action even when you're afraid. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's moving forward even when you're uncertain.
Successful people feel fear just like everyone else. They have doubts just like everyone else. They face criticism just like everyone else. The difference is they don't let these things stop them. They feel the fear and do it anyway. They acknowledge the doubt and trust the process anyway.
They hear the criticism and stay focused on their vision anyway. The victim mentality is seductive because it removes responsibility and effort from you. It's easier to blame than to build. It's easier to complain than to change. It's easier to make excuses than to make progress. But easier doesn't lead to better. Easier leads to regret. You have a choice to make right now. You can continue collecting reasons why you can't succeed. Or you can start collecting evidence of your progress. You can continue waiting for perfect conditions, or you can start working with current conditions. You can continue seeking approval from others, or you can start approving of your own efforts. The moment you eliminate self-sabotage and victim thinking from your life is the moment everything becomes possible. Because the only person who can truly stop you is you. And if you're not going to stop yourself, then nothing can stop you. We've traveled quite a journey together. We've talked about the paradox of letting go, the power of internal mastery, the predictable patterns of life, and how to eliminate self-sabotage. Now comes the most practical part, what you actually do every single day to transform your life. Because all the wisdom in the world means nothing without daily application. Here's a truth that will either inspire you or intimidate you. Your life is nothing more than the sum of your daily habits. What you do daily, you become permanently. Show me your daily routine and I'll show you your future. The person who exercises for 30 minutes every day will have a dramatically different body in 5 years than the person who exercises for 2 hours once a week. The person who reads for 20 minutes every day will have a dramatically different mind in 5 years than the person who reads for 5 hours once a month. Success isn't about what you do occasionally. It's about what you do consistently. It's not about the grand gestures or dramatic moments. It's about the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make every single day, repeated over time, until they become automatic. Let's start with the foundation of all disciplines, your morning routine. How you start your day determines how you live your day. Most people stumble out of bed, check their phone immediately, rush through their morning, and then wonder why they feel scattered and reactive for the rest of the day. Successful people approach the morning differently. They understand that the first hour of the day is the most important hour. This is when you set the tone, when you prepare your mind, when you connect with your purpose. This is your time before the world starts making demands on your attention. Here's a simple morning routine that will change everything. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than you normally do. I know. You're already thinking of reasons why you can't. But remember what we talked about, eliminating excuses. This is your first test. Use the first 10 minutes for stillness. This could be meditation, prayer, deep breathing, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. This isn't about achieving some mystical state. It's about starting your day from a centered place instead of a frantic place. Use the next 10 minutes for movement. This could be stretching, yoga, push-ups, a walk, or any form of physical activity. This wakes up your body, gets your blood flowing, and releases the energy you'll need for the day. Use the final 10 minutes for personal development. Read a few pages of a good book, listen to a podcast, review your goals, or journal about your priorities for the day. This programs your mind for growth instead of just getting by. That's it. 30 minutes. A person who does this for a year will be dramatically different from a person who doesn't. Why? Because they're starting each day by investing in themselves instead of immediately giving their energy away to others. Now let's talk about the discipline of continuous learning. In our rapidly changing world, what you learned yesterday might be obsolete tomorrow. The diploma you earned years ago won't sustain you for the next 20 years. Your current skills might not be valuable in the job market 5 years from now. But here's the great news. You don't need to go back to school to stay current. You just need to commit to learning something new every day. Read industry publications. Listen to educational podcasts during your commute. Watch educational videos instead of mindless entertainment. Take online courses in your spare time. Remember our earlier example about reading 10 pages a day. Let's expand on that. 10 pages a day of quality material will give you deep knowledge in any field within a year. But here's the key. It has to be quality material, not social media posts, not gossip magazines, not mindless entertainment disguised as education. Choose books written by people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Study biographies of successful people. Read about principles that have stood the test of time. Focus on material that challenges your thinking, expands your perspective, and gives you practical tools you can apply immediately. Let's discuss financial discipline, because this is where most people struggle. The habit that will transform your financial life more than any other is this. Pay yourself first, before you pay anyone else, before you buy anything else. Set aside a percentage of your income for your future. Start with whatever you can afford, even if it's just 1%. The amount matters less than the habit. Once the habit is established, you can increase the percentage. But the key is to make it automatic. Have the money transferred to savings or investments before you even see it. If you don't see it, you won't miss it. This isn't just about accumulating money. This is about developing the mindset of someone who values their future more than their immediate gratification. This is about becoming someone who thinks long-term, instead of just day-to-day. But financial discipline isn't just about saving. It's also about spending wisely. Before any significant purchase, ask yourself 3 questions. Do I need this? Will this add value to my life? Can I afford this without going into debt? If the answer to any of these questions is no, wait. Give yourself time to think. Often the desire will pass, and you'll realize you didn't really need it anyway. Health disciplines are equally important, because without your health, nothing else matters. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, you can't enjoy it. You can achieve all your professional goals, but if you're too sick or tired to appreciate them, what's the point? The foundation of health discipline is consistency, not intensity. It's better to exercise for 20 minutes every day than to exercise for 3 hours once a week. It's better to eat well most of the time than to go on extreme diets occasionally. Create non-negotiable daily health habits. Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's choosing healthier lunch options. Maybe it's going to bed at a reasonable time. Start small, but start today. Your future self will thank you for the investment you make in your health right now. Now let's talk about relationship disciplines, because success without meaningful relationships is hollow. The discipline of being fully present when you're with people. The discipline of listening more than you speak. The discipline of expressing appreciation regularly. The discipline of being reliable and keeping your word. One simple relationship discipline that will transform your connections with others. End every interaction on a positive note. Whether it's with your family, friends, colleagues, or strangers, find something genuine to appreciate or acknowledge. This creates a positive association with being around you. Here's a professional discipline that will set you apart from 90% of people. Do more than you're paid to do. Always give a little extra. Stay a few minutes longer. Put in a little more effort. Think beyond your job description. Add value wherever you can. This isn't about being taken advantage of. This is about developing a reputation for excellence. This is about becoming the kind of person that opportunities seek out. When promotions are available, when new projects need leaders, when companies are hiring, they look for people who consistently go above and beyond.
Let me share with you a tracking discipline that will accelerate all your other disciplines. Measure your progress daily. What gets measured gets improved. Keep a simple journal or use a basic app to track your key habits. Did you exercise today? Did you read today? Did you save money today? Did you do something kind for someone today? Don't track everything, that becomes overwhelming. Choose 3 to 5 key areas and track those consistently. The act of tracking creates awareness, and awareness creates the opportunity for conscious choice. But here's the most important discipline of all, the discipline of beginning again. You will miss days, you will break streaks, you will fall short of your ideals. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people isn't that successful people never fail at their disciplines. It's that they begin again faster. If you miss your morning routine one day, begin again the next day. If you skip your exercise for a week, begin again today. If you break your financial discipline with an impulse purchase, begin again with the next paycheck. Progress isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. Think of disciplines like compound interest. The effects might not be visible at first, but over time they create exponential results. The person who saves consistently for 30 years will have exponentially more than someone who saves the same amount for 15 years. The person who exercises consistently for a decade will have exponentially better health than someone who exercises intensely for a year and then stops. Here's what disciplines really create freedom. I know that sounds paradoxical. How can restrictions create freedom? But think about it. When you have the discipline to save money, you have the freedom to make choices. When you have the discipline to stay in good health, you have the freedom to enjoy life. When you have the discipline to develop your skills, you have the freedom to pursue opportunities. Disciplines aren't punishment. They're the price of freedom. They're the investment you make today for the life you want tomorrow. Remember where we started? When you stop caring about immediate gratification and start caring about long-term results, everything falls into place. When you stop caring about what's easy and start caring about what's effective, your life transforms. When you stop caring about looking good today and start caring about being good tomorrow, you become unstoppable. The disciplines I've shared with you aren't complicated. They're simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means doable. Simple means sustainable. Simple means you can start today, right now, with whatever you have, wherever you are. Your extraordinary life is waiting for you, but it won't come to you. You have to go to it. You have to earn it. You have to build it one day, one choice, one discipline at a time. The question isn't whether you can do these things. The question is whether you will do these things. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Today, because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Your future is created by what you do today, not by what you intend to do someday. Start small, start simple, but begin today and begin again tomorrow. Your extraordinary life depends on it.